The old YouTube star, Harold Thompson, eased himself into the faded green armchair that had molded itself to his shape over decades. The cottage in Lower Marston, Devon, creaked softly around him as the October wind rattled the sash windows. At 72, the silence pressed against his ears like a physical weight. Margaret's knitting basket still sat untouched in the corner, a half-finished scarf for their grandson poking out like a frozen memory. The clock on the mantelpiece ticked on, indifferent. He had retired from teaching history at Kingsbridge Secondary 7 years earlier. The staff had thrown him a modest party with warm beer and supermarket sandwiches. For the first couple of years, former pupils dropped by or sent cards. Then life moved on, as it always does. His son James worked long hours in Manchester as a financial analyst, married to busy Emma, with 2 teenagers who communicated mostly in emojis. Daughter Sarah had followed her passion for the sea all the way to a research post in Plymouth, but even that felt distant now. Margaret's battle with cancer had ended 4 years ago on a rainy Thursday. The house had never felt so empty since. Mornings began the same way: strong tea with 2 sugars, porridge with a drizzle of honey, a slow walk along the river path where the willows trailed their branches in the water like grieving fingers. He fed the birds, read the local paper, and spoke aloud to the blackbird that visited the garden daily. "Another quiet one today, eh?" he'd say. The bird never answered. One particularly gray afternoon, while fiddling with a tablet James had insisted he learn to use, Harold stumbled across YouTube. He clicked on a video of an elderly Scottish man sharing stories from the shipyards. The comments moved him. Young people saying it reminded them of their grandfathers, others admitting they felt less alone. Something stirred in Harold's chest, a small, hesitant spark. That night, he barely slept. At 3 a.m., he stood before the bathroom mirror, studying the crow's feet, the liver spots, the silver hair that still carried a boyish wave at the front. "You've talked to classrooms full of restless teenagers for 35 years, he told his reflection. "What's one camera?" The next morning, he hauled out his old camcorder from the dusty cupboard under the stairs, the one they'd used for family holidays in Cornwall and Dorset. He balanced it on a stack of history books on the oak dining table, adjusted the lace curtain for soft light, and put on his favorite brown cardigan with the leather elbow patches Margaret had sewn. He cleared his throat, pressed record, and began. "Hello, I'm Harold Thompson from Lower Marston in Devon. 72 years young, or so they say. I don't expect many people to watch this, but I thought I'd share a story or two. This one's about the day I met my wife, Margaret, at the village fete in 1973. He spoke for 12 minutes. No script, no fancy effects. Just memories flowing like the river behind his cottage. He described the summer heat, the smell of candy floss, the way Margaret had laughed when he tried to win her a coconut at the Shy and missed every shot. His voice cracked only once when he mentioned her smile. He ended with a gentle, "Well, that's enough rambling from an old man. If you enjoyed it, drop a comment. If not, that's all right too." He created a channel called Harold's Fireside Tales and uploaded it with the title, "Meeting Margaret, My First Love Story." The thumbnail was a slightly blurry selfie taken at arm's length. For 5 days, nothing. Then 11 views appeared. One comment from a woman named Susan in Birmingham brought tears to my eyes. My dad told stories just like this before he passed. Thank you. Harold read it 3 times, a lump forming in his throat. Then the disappointment rolled in. 11 views. He had once taught classes of 30 boisterous 15-year-olds 5 times a day. What was this? He nearly deleted the channel. Instead, he made another video the following week. Then another. He talked about winning the Village Football Cup in 1968, the harsh winter of 1979, when snow blocked the lanes for 17 days and neighbors shared logs and soup. The pride and terror of becoming a father. Each upload felt like casting a message in a bottle into a vast digital sea. Views trickled, 27, 43, 91. Comments were sparse but kind. Harold began speaking to the camera as if it were an old mate sitting across the table with a pint. You know, he'd say, leaning forward, we spend so much time rushing that we forget to notice the small things. The first frost on the window, the way tea tastes better when shared. Disappointment became his quiet companion. Some nights he sat staring at the subscriber count, 127 after 3 months, and wondered if he was a fool. James called one Sunday evening. Dad, you're really doing the YouTube thing? That's brilliant. Just be careful, yeah? But Harold persisted. He learned basic editing on his laptop. He started replying to every comment. A young father in Leeds wrote that Harold's stories about raising children helped him through sleepless nights with a colicky baby. An elderly lady in Scotland said his voice reminded her of her late husband. A 16-year-old girl from Newcastle admitted she had never cared about history until she heard how real people lived it. Then came the video that changed everything. It was titled, "The Longest Night, Losing Margaret." Harold sat in the same chair, wearing the same cardigan. He spoke for 23 minutes without stopping, his voice sometimes dropping to a whisper. He described the diagnosis, the hospital corridors that smelled of disinfectant and fear, the nights he held her hand while she slept, bargaining with God in the chapel. He didn't edit out the moment his eyes filled. Some losses don't heal, he said quietly. They just become part of you, like an old scar that aches when it rains. He uploaded it on a Wednesday evening. By Friday morning, it had 28,000 views. Comments poured in like a tide, thousands of them. People shared their own stories of grief, of loneliness, of finding strength in unexpected places. Granddad Harold, they called him. The subscriber count jumped to over 80,000 in a week. Local journalist Emma Hargreaves from the Devon Gazette drove down and wrote a feature. Retired teachers' heartfelt videos strike chord with thousands. The story was picked up nationally. A morning television program interviewed him via video link. Harold appeared in his living room, slightly nervous but warm, answering questions with the same gentle honesty he showed in his videos. "I'm not special," he told the presenter. "I've just lived a long time and remembered the bits worth telling. Seems like a lot of people need reminding that they're not alone. From there, the channel grew like summer barley. 1 million subscribers by the following spring. 2 million. 3. Brands emailed offering money for mentions. Retirement plans, tea companies, walking boots. Harold turned down most. "I'm not here to sell," he replied politely, "just to talk." His daily routine transformed. Mornings now included reading comments over breakfast. He started a series called Ask Grandad Harold, where he answered viewer questions with wisdom earned through decades. Why is young love so intense? How do you forgive yourself for past mistakes? What's the secret to a long marriage? His answers were never preachy, always laced with self-deprecating humor. Marriage isn't about never arguing, he'd chuckle. It's about arguing over who makes the tea and still wanting to make it for them anyway. He filmed walking videos along his favorite river path, pointing out birds and trees as if giving a private tour. He recreated old recipes from his mother's wartime cookbook, simple stews and apple crumbles, and shared them with gentle instructions. Viewers sent him photos of their own attempts. A young man in London baked the apple crumble for his mother's birthday and said it brought the whole family together. 4 years in, at 76, Harold's voice had grown softer. His hands occasionally trembled when holding notes, but his spirit remained bright. The cottage felt alive again. Former pupils visited. Strangers knocked politely, asking for photos. He welcomed most with tea and biscuits, though he guarded his quiet afternoons. Health issues crept in. Arthritis in his knees made walks shorter. A chest infection laid him low for 2 weeks one winter. Yet he kept filming. One video, recorded from his armchair with a blanket over his legs, became particularly beloved. What I'd tell my younger self. I'd tell him to slow down, Harold said, eyes twinkling. To really listen when Margaret speaks. To plant more roses because they come back every year even when you don't deserve them. And to be kinder to others and to yourself. He paused, looking straight into the camera. And if you're watching this and you feel lost, remember, every day is a new page. Write something worth reading. The video passed 10 million views within a month. Harold turned 78 in late summer. James and Emma brought the grandchildren down for a week. Sarah flew in from her latest project. They celebrated with a proper roast dinner and cake. For a few golden days, the cottage rang with laughter again. The grandchildren discovered his channel and watched old videos, wide-eyed. "You're famous, Granddad," little Emily declared. Harold smiled. "Famous is overrated, love. Connected is better." Autumn brought colder winds and a persistent cough. He filmed less often, but more thoughtfully. In early November, he recorded what would be his final full video. The garden outside blazed with the last of the autumn color. He wore Margaret's favorite scarf around his neck. "Been thinking about time a lot lately," he began. "It slips away like sand through your fingers. We worry about money, about status, about what others think. But in the end, it's the ordinary moments that shine brightest. A shared laugh, a walk in the rain, a story told by the fire. I've been lucky. I had love, I had purpose, and now, thanks to all of you, I have this unexpected second chapter. He spoke for 18 minutes, sharing lighter stories mixed with deeper reflections. At the end, his voice grew quiet. If this old man has helped even one person feel less lonely, then every video was worth it. Thank you for listening. Keep sharing your own stories. The world needs more voices like yours. He signed off with his usual warmth. That's enough from me tonight. Look after yourselves and each other. The video went live at 6 p.m. Harold made himself a cup of tea, sat in his armchair, and closed his eyes with a contented sigh. He never woke up. James found him the next morning, peaceful, with the faintest smile on his lips and the remote still in his hand. The doctor said it was a gentle heart failure. His old heart had simply decided it had done enough. The news spread like wildfire across the internet. Tributes poured in from every corner. News channels replayed clips. Celebrities and ordinary people alike posted about how Granddad Harold had touched their lives. His final video gained 30 million views in the first week. Comments numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Rest easy, Granddad. You were there for me when no one else was. Thank you for teaching me what matters. Sarah compiled a beautiful tribute video featuring highlights from his journey. It opened with his voice and closed with a private message Harold had recorded weeks earlier, as if he had sensed the end approaching. In that short clip, filmed in soft morning light, Harold looked straight at the camera with calm acceptance. I am dying, he said simply without fear, but my voice will remain alive. As long as these videos exist, as long as someone out there needs a story or a kind word on a difficult night, I'll still be here. Thank you for giving an old man a reason to keep talking. You've made my final years the richest of all. Lower Marston held a quiet but well-attended funeral at St. Mary's Church. Locals, former students, and dozens of viewers who had traveled from across Britain and even abroad filled the pews and spilled outside. James spoke movingly, quoting one of his father's lines, "A life well lived and well told never truly ends." In the months and years that followed, dedicated community volunteers, with family permission, kept the channel active. They added subtitles, organized old videos into playlists, and occasionally shared archive footage. New generations discovered Harold. School teachers used his history stories in class. Young people struggling with mental health found comfort in his honest words about grief. Families watched together on Sunday evenings. A small bronze plaque now stands beside the river path Harold loved. Harold Thompson, teacher, storyteller, friend to millions. His voice still warms the fireside. On quiet evenings, if you walk that path as the sun sets over the Devon Hills, you might pause on the bench and listen. Somewhere in the vast digital world, an old man's gentle West Country voice continues to speak, steady, warm, and full of hard-earned wisdom, refusing to fade away. Closing note. Good luck on whatever chapter of life you find yourself in right now. The days can feel long and heavy sometimes, but remember Harold's quiet truth. Your story matters, and sharing it might just light someone else's way. If this tale touched you, stay on this channel, subscribe, and keep coming back. There's always another fireside tale waiting. Take care of yourselves and EA.